Yo, no maniacs. Good afternoon, man. This is Nomad Live, all bears all the time in conjunction with Sports Zone Chicago and the SuperBack Gregory. Man, it's hey man, listen, we are 1 month out, no maniacs. And why we're letting people fall into the chat, man. Tap in and let everybody know where you're from, man. I already saw, I think Luis Claudio, Bismarck, North Carolina, jumped ahead of us. Good job, Luis. Welcome to the show. If you have not, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and welcome to the family. But I'm seeing new names in there. Marco King already. But hey, man, 1 month from today, the Bears will be on the clock for the number one pick. And we got a whole show about that and what he plans to do at one. He's still being ambiguous because he did a interview for Fox News Chicago, I think, Fox 32. And he answered some questions today, and we're going to get into all that. But before we get into some of these other topics that I had in mind, kids, you want to give out some pleasantries right quick?
Yo, no maniacs. Good to have you with us on a Monday. It's sunny in Canada. That much I can tell you, and it's actually warm. So I'm enjoying the weather. Hopefully you are too, and the weather ain't too bad in the Chicago land area. Squeegee, Patty Laura, Armando Laura Jr., my bad, Jay Grizz, Lord Crimson, AC Adam, Cornelius Squalls, Plank, Illinois Jones, thanks for representing with us. Leo Factor, thanks for representing with us. We're just going to rock it out here today and keep it Bears as per normal. Keith, Bishop, what do you got to say?
Yo, what's going on, no maniacs and sports zoners? How y'all doing on this happy Monday? Yes. We about to chop it up and talk Bear football. So glad to see all of you guys. Hope you had an enjoyable weekend. I know I did. Down here in Texas, I'm enjoying some beautiful sunny 70-degree weather, but I also see that it's in the 60s in Chicago, so it's not so bad. But hey, let's chop it up. Let's enjoy today. Let's talk Bear football. Shawn, the SuperBack, what it do, my brother?
Man, good morning. Sport donors and Omaniacs Unite. Thanks for tuning in, people. I love it. My show was awesome this morning. My workout was awesome this morning. I'm excited. I'm fired up to talk some more Bears football with my men. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channel along with the Nomad Network YouTube channel. All right, please do that. We'd appreciate it. With we've already had over 100 subscribers within in less than a month. So I appreciate that. Let's keep it going, keep going. We want to get to a certain level and we can move around a little freer with some of the stuff that we want to do here. So make sure you do that. You like both Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channel and the Nomad Network. Let's get it.
Appreciate that, Shawn, man. Hey, listen, we were talking just briefly in the back before coming out, man, about the this new hip drop rule and what it might mean. Just being a former player, I absolutely hate when they start messing with rules, because typically when you start doing things like that. Now, I'm not saying that the new rule doesn't have validity, because it does, that move actually does get people hurt. It's just when you start tweaking them, it's almost like you make things a little bit worse, and then guys start doing other things to compensate, and it ends up getting people hurt. Like, you can see people probably targeting knees and legs instead of actually going for the wrap, coming from an angle. But let's just talk about it a little bit, about what you guys think about that new rule, kids.
I'm gonna pass it through, and the reason being is I was trying to catch up on what the why behind it, and I couldn't quite get to the end of that article before we started this show. So, Bishop, SuperBack, either one of you guys want to touch on the tackling rule that just passed?
Yeah.
Touch on it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Shawn.
No, Bishop, you got it, Papa.
No, I was just going to say really quick, man. For me, it concerns me because it almost seems like they might just put flags on, man. I mean, I understand that the safety of players, but at what point, as an offensive player, do you learn to protect yourself? But more importantly, I mean, I get it. It's all about technique. But what else can a guy do? I mean, seriously. I mean, nobody wants to get hurt, the defensive guy or the offensive guy. Neither one are trying to get hurt or hurt one another. I just think that they got to really figure some things out. I think because they brought it up in this offseason, I don't feel that they necessarily needed to make a determination on it, review it, and talk about it the next offseason. I think when they implement things as quickly as they do, to what Kedz was saying, it can be worse than better. That's just my opinion. But maybe Shawn, you can elaborate, make me see a different angle to it.
I like it. All right. You see, too many guys their needs going out. All right. See, the problem with it is that, when you started saying, because you can't lead with your head tackling, that's part of the issue. All right. Like, when we were growing up and we were taught, bull your neck, all right, face mask in the chest and tackle. Okay. They've made other rules so difficult for defenders. And this is another rule that it does it. I see what they're doing, but it's more of the if you allow people to use, and again, not the crown of the helmet, but the face mask. All right. There's just too many concessions. All right. And I get it. You want offense, you want more offense, you want people to score. People like when people are the huge fan base that the NFL has. They love when more points are put on the board, but it's putting a defense at a disadvantage. I remember when you couldn't hit you had to lay off the head for DB, for wide receivers, and help us. What is it called? The defenseless receiver. There you go. All right. So now you can't get guys who are coming across the middle who catch the ball and you label them. Well, this is football. All right. This is not a contact sport. This is a collision sport. Okay. And the fact of the matter is that this is what they signed up for. And very few people, and none that I know of, okay, regardless of the situation, the ailments they have later in life, they have not said that they would do it. They wish that they had better rules. All right. People would wish they would do it all over again the exact same way. All right. So when you said they couldn't go at, have the defenseless receiver, what you started seeing, smaller DBs go after bigger wide receivers or tight ends going low. We started seeing a lot of ACLs, a lot of people going after and to get them down, because so they'd rather have someone tear an ACL, miss a season, plus depending on when it happened in the season, okay, than something else. I get the concussion thing, I get it, but one of the things that I can easily say is like, hey, listen, there's a way you can handle all this. You can say, hey, listen, this extensive playing of this game can lead to CTE and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're willing, you need to sign a waiver, say we will not sue the NFL. We can't, not just simple like that, but in a nutshell, that's what they can do, because football has lost a lot of its excitement due to defense. Like, defenses are really, they're playing with one hand tied behind their back. Okay, not being able to hit receivers, not being able to jam receivers, not being able to look at receivers, not being able to breathe on receivers. All right, and believe me, I'm an offensive guy. Even though I was a defensive coordinator, I played running back my entire career. Okay, but I get the fact that it's difficult on defense when you can't touch a guy, you can't reroute a guy, you can't hit him, you can't, if he's up in the air, you have to catch him and then put him down, put him on your knee and then ask him if he'd like to be tackled or if he wants to get more yards. I mean, it's crazy the softness with which that they're making this game. And I think it's the wussification of America. It's filtered from the culture to this sport, and it's made the sport a lot less enjoyable at times, because one of the things that we enjoyed about football was there's a factor that levels it out, and that is physicality. You might not be a more talented team. You might not be the better team, but you're a more physical team. And let me tell you, that was the equalizer in football. You can get a team that hits hard and they win because of attrition. They win because other guys are getting hurt, and not illegal, nothing illegal about it, but they were just getting beat up and nicks and bumps and bruises, and it takes them out of the game. So I'm really not happy with another rule to add to the offense. Okay, again, despite the fact that I was an offensive player my entire football career, I still want to see defenses. I want to see defenses be able to take over. I want to see defenses be able to legitimately, legally, take players out of a game because they hit them hard. They hit them, in the right spot. They intimidate people. I mean, that is one of the hugest things with the Bears and the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens. What they did, they intimidated people with their play. They knew you weren't coming across because Ray Lewis was going to hit you. You knew you weren't going to come across because Ed Reed would hit you. You didn't want to have the quarterback was looking out his back because T. Suggs was coming around the corner. All right, these are things, this intimidation factor, that's part of football. Football is the alpha sport of alpha sports. And to take that away, what they're doing, add another rule like this really, really bothers me.
So, listen, man, I come at this from it's 50-50 with me, man, because I know what happens is whenever you go to tinkering with rules like that, all it does is open up the door for more injuries because players just start resorting to other tactics, right? And so if you can't do one thing, you start doing another thing. So Shawn, I don't know about you in the locker room, but we had a rule whenever we went out for a real full-on scrimmage. We knew we had a conversation in the locker room, and we said, our whole thing about it was no dropping on anybody. That's how we worded it. You can't drop on anybody. You drop on somebody, it's going to be a problem. On that field and in the locker room afterwards, you knew it was going to be a problem. And so everybody kind of, when your teammates, you can kind of police that a little bit. We had some guys that kind of went rogue and, some stuff happened, behind that, man. And it's just a civility thing at the end of the day because you don't want to see nobody get hurt. And, I was the same way on the field against my opponents. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to explain what hip drop means. I'm going to do the best way I can without an illustration. So, say, for instance, the running back is flying down the sidelines, right, guys? And here comes this linebacker or safety, more than likely a safety. If he's breaking away clean and the safety's coming down on him at an angle, right? In order for him to get this guy down safely, being the last person in defense, he's got to make sure this dude comes down when he puts his hands on him. And so when he's coming at that angle, most people are going to hit him straight up if they can, go for the shot. But sometimes guys will go from that angle, will do the wrap around the waist, and they'll kind of swing around that player and kind of kick their legs out. And so that makes the butt drop. And then that's how you stop the player's momentum. And a lot of times I've seen that turn into, I think I've seen Bo Jackson on an old tape. I think his career got cut short because of a hip drop tackle, I believe. But it's a dangerous game to play when you're playing football, man, because your weight will absolutely stop that player's momentum. Unless you slide off or lose hold of that guy's going to stop immediately. And if he's constantly thrusting forward, something's going to give. So I don't know if I did a good job, Shawn. Did that sound like it makes sense to you? Did I do a good job of explaining that?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. It was a good job. And the biggest thing you says is wrapping them around the waist and then dropping. All right, and then dropping because now you have the entire weight of whatever 185, 195, 205, 215, whatever. All right, and that throws a balance off of a guy. But he's gonna fall. But if he falls and his just say the near leg, the leg that the tackler, the leg closest to the tackler isn't forward. Okay, I mean you're running like this, okay, and if that leg isn't forward, the player gets buckled, gets wrapped up underneath. The leg will fold underneath that player's weight. When you got a 185-pound, 200-pound, whatever safety, linebacker, DB, whatever, and you bend someone that way, it's not good. The body is not meant to bend that way. And yeah, it's just you did a good job, man.
Man, and so like I kind of skipped on this, and here's my real worry about stuff, anything like this. Like I understand the safety concerns clearly, but how are they going to actually officiate stuff like this? Like, is this going to be a discretionary case scenario again? Because that's where the NFL loses me. A fan like me, if everything is discretionary and like that kind of looked like a hip drop, and I'm going to call it here, but We haven't been trained on it officially or anything like that. This is a brand new thing. And, that also kind of looked like a hip drop, but it was a player that I particularly like. So I'm probably not going to call it, or they're winning. So you know what I'm saying? Like, it can't just be, everything can't be discretionary. And that's my problem with a lot of the officiating in the NFL. It has to be clear cut and obvious and specific rules around it. Hopefully they can wrap all that around this tackling rule. But I'm going to be real interested when Derrick Henry gets going in Baltimore next season. I don't know how anybody brings him down without dropping weight. I don't know. He should go for 2,000 yards next season.
Keith, I was just Kedz kind of beat me to the punch, man. I was gonna say that next. It's gonna be interesting to see how the refs determine what's above board and what's not. You know what I mean?
Figure.
That ambiguity there, man. It's a lot of gray area in between what they might deem as, because there's a video I think Tom Pelissero put out. It was a few minutes of, what I don't know. I guess I'm just going to assume that Tom Pelissero got probably an illustration of what they were looking at the owners' meeting as to what they thought was illegal tackles, and it's all bad looking stuff, but it's very regular in the course of a game. And so what I want to know, Keith, is how do you officiate and determine what's above board and what's not?
That's a good question, though, man. Honestly, I mean, in some cases, when you're playing the game of football, body weight and collision, all of that, some of it's just natural, man. You try to control the controllables, but at some time, a lot of it's just natural. So with that being said, you caught between a rock and a hard place, and my biggest concern is we're talking about at the NFL level, but I think we have to, if this is a rule that they're going to implement, then let's make sure that it trickles down to the other levels in college and in high school, because again, some of this is learned and trained behavior, but again, a lot of it is natural. You're talking about physics, collision, body weight, speed. You don't see guys break down in the NFL like you do it, say, at the high school level, when you as a DB or a linebacker, when you got a guy coming across the middle and you're expecting that guy to break down. The game is too fast. Guys are too big, too strong, too powerful. And I get it that I think what also helped kind of add this into everything is they looked at the points that was being scored decreased this season. I understand that they want to keep the score level a certain height in terms of, let's keep it up above 45 points or whatever per game. And then you throw in the officiating, which I can speak for myself. The past couple years, I haven't been pleased with the officiating. It comes down to, like Kedz said, what call do you deem okay with making this particular call on this play where you didn't make this call 3 plays ago, but here it is, a game decision, and now you make this call. And you also and the elephant in the room that nobody's talking about is the gambling aspect to it. How does this affect gambling? That's something else I think we're going to at some point sprinkle into this as well.
He's again, not wrong, right?
What'd you say, Kedz?
I'm just touching on the gambling piece. Like this is the NFL cannot continue to embrace discretionary calls. Like that's something they should be trying to not only avoid but clean up the existing discretionary calls.
But
now let's go ahead.
You know what I think, Kedz? Something I think that the NFL need to address is all referees are contract employees. I think it's time for the referees to be employed by the NFL. So this way, they're always fining players for certain plays or whatever. It's time, I think, they start hitting the referees in their pocket too, because there's been too many times where they've affected games on discretionary calls. I think they need to be employed by the NFL.
Like, so I hear where you're coming from. I hear where you're coming from, because now they can hold them accountable. But I don't want these refs held accountable. You know what I mean? I want the systemic issue to be clean, as opposed to penalizing somebody for making, again, being put in a situation where you must make a discretionary call, and down the road they determine that discretionary call was not the right or correct call to have been made. They have to move away from discretionary stuff. Pass interference. Hey, man, that's completely discretionary and topical. If you really want to call it, you're going to call it. Like, how many times have you seen pure and clear pass interference calls just get ignored? Right. Or ticky-tack little physicality get called as PI?
Right.
Now, let's get down to, like, you touched on something very important as well, and that is, let's push this down to the college ranks. Let's push this, down to the high school ranks, so at least it's now trained up when these new kids get into the NFL moving forward. My wonder now, like where my headspace is now, is nobody in the NFL is trained on how to avoid avoid using your helmet in tackling, and now also avoid using your weight, right?
Right.
What is an NFL tackle now?
Well, you can best believe in camp this year, they'll spend a significant amount of time, because I'm trying to remember what it was when I was in college. It was something that came. It was a new rule that I can't think of what it was. It had been horse. I don't know what it was.
Might have been horse collar.
Could have been. Probably horse. I can't remember what it was, but we spent way too much time. But it was necessary to get the muscle memory in you to know how to go about those, tackling on plays like that when you have to come from behind and get somebody. You know what I mean? It's just it's always tricky for me, and we gotta keep moving. But it's just I just can't wait to see how the refs determine, what's the gray area. I just want to see where the gray area is and what they determine is above board and what's not. I think it's going to be interesting. I do think it's necessary. I hate to say that, to be quite frank with you, man, because I told you, like in when I was in college, those situations turned out to be full out brawls on the field, man, because we had a decorum. Like we don't treat each other that way. You know what I mean? If it happens in practice, you got hell to deal with later on. Not even on the field at that moment, we're gonna break it up. But after that, man, it's gonna be, hey man, we gotta get it in. Especially if that guy didn't get hurt. If he got hurt, he held on to that until he got healthy, and he still wanted to fight. And so I've seen the worst of that play out on the field when I was playing. I don't like it, and I know it needs to be addressed. How they address it and what comes of it is what I'm interested in learning, seeing how the refs interpret this whole thing. But
so what they're going to do is this. I didn't get my shot. So what they're going to do is they're going to have the refs. There's going to be a full out, not assault, but a full out. They probably started already. Where they're happening.
What do they call it? An emphasis.
What they're going to do is they're going to have a whole bunch of cut-ups. All right, they're going to have a whole bunch. They're going to The NFL is going to sit down with the rules committee, and they're going to have someone cut it up, and they're going to have a slew of different types, different examples of that type of tackle that they want outlawed. So they're going to send it to the teams. Teams are going to have to go over it. But then also what they've been doing recently is they've been having, whenever they have new rules, they have the officials, and teams like to do this anyway, but they have the officials at training camp. Mm-hmm. So not only will you be seeing it, will it be beat over your head in OTAs and every time teams meet for whatever reason, but the officials will be there in camp to show you, and there's not a lot of tackling in camp either, none, very very little at all. But just in case there is, all right, they're there to make sure that you get called and watch out for that. So they're gonna make sure that they do everything possible, to make sure that everybody's aware of it. But again, the thing that's the issue is that because there's not a lot of tackling in camp, all right, it's going to take a lot more. It's going to take preseason games. So you're going to see a lot of penalties in preseason games with those calls because people are, you talked about it, Nomad, muscle memory. This is how they've been forced to be able to tackle, and then now you're taking that away, and they have to find another way to tackle. And it's, it bothers me because, again, had you not taken the leading with the helmet, Okay, again, not the crown, but with the face mask. Leading with the face mask, and you're not taking that away. All right, then a lot of these things wouldn't be necessary. But because you have now, you have to lead with the shoulder. So what's going to happen? I mean, if you're a 185-pound running back, cornerback, and you got a 225-pound running back coming at you, what are you going to do?
That's funny, Sean, you said that, because I saw Richard Sherman getting into it with somebody. I think it was I don't know if it was a tight end or somebody. I can't remember who it was he got into it with, but he's talking exactly what you're talking. It's like you had a disadvantage, an extreme disadvantage, and your job, particularly on particular plays, you got to stop that guy.
You're the last line of defense, and you got to bring him down, and you got to play with leverage, and you know what I mean. So, and again, if you're outweighed by 30 pounds, you just imagine what the difference in strength is between a cornerback who's 185, 190, and a 220-pound running back. Or the amount of strength. You can only be so strong at 185. You know what I mean? And these running backs are a lot stronger and have a lot more meat on them, mass on them.
I'm a witness.
and I'm a witness too, because I've been the hammer a lot of times. I've been the hammer most of the time. You know what I mean? As a running back, I played around in college and professionally. I played about 210. All right, semi-pro is like 210 to 220, 25. And so, you got 160-pound DBs coming at you. Man, what are they going to do? Especially when you're nimble. Like, I can get down low and, and get down like almost to knee level. So, like, it's my shoulder pad hitting your shoulder pad or your helmet if you want, you know what I mean? So they have to come up with something, because the reason I was able to do that, right, I made sure that I was flexible enough. I didn't want my knees taken out. I didn't want someone to miss my thigh and hit my knee. That happened. I mean, I was one of the masters of cutting defensive ends, and I hit him square in the thigh, and it was practice.
Look at Junior.
Yeah, he's.
All right, hey guys, you know what? We almost 30 minutes into the show. I know everybody still has plenty they want to say on that topic, because it's a hell of a topic to talk about, man. Because football players, as we all know, man, it's just. The rule changes are getting a little bit blurry, and playing the game is getting a little bit more and more unnatural as we keep going. I'm all for safety. I'm all for them finding ways for guys to lessen the injuries on guys. But I just like to see how it plays out, see if it makes any difference, see if guys pull up, and if they seem unnatural at all in tackling. But let's jump on this next subject, because here's a really, really good one. I think Deion Sanders, his son Shedeur, and Travis Hunter, his teammate, I think they're set to shake the world up when it comes to next year's draft, because Deion is insistent that there are some teams that neither one of his guys, he considers Travis Hunter one of his children too. That's how close they are. And he's saying that he and Shedeur will not be going to certain teams, and he's going to see to that. And so, kids, what do you think about him positioning those young guys in situations that he's going to? They'd rather go back into college or just pull out of the draft altogether than go to some of these teams. I don't know if he said any names in particular. I don't think he did, but you can imagine, maybe the franchise that we sit here and root for and fight about every single day could be possibly one of those teams that he's talking about. So, what do you feel about all that, kid?
So here's what I feel. I feel like we're getting a quarterback this season, so we probably don't have to pay any attention to where Deion's kid's going next.
It's just the precedent we want to talk
about. I know I'm being facetious, but it's also very factual, right? He might be talking about the Bears. He could well be talking about us. Upside for us is we won't be in that market next year, very specifically. So whoever's in that top 10 by, with reason, if you're in that top 10 draft pick case scenario next draft, and you stunk up the field last season, all the more reason for Deion to move his kid wherever he decides to move him. Or I don't. It's hard for me to look at that negatively. Right, like if that's the card they want to play, if it's I'm just trying to think of who would be in a quarterback situation next season I'd say Washington, but they're likely getting somebody now. But let's just call it Washington. If it's Washington next year and they're looking for another quarterback, and there he is, and he doesn't want his kid to go there, if it's me and I'm Deion, and I got the strings that I can pull, I'm pulling every possible string that I can to make sure my kid goes wherever it is that he wants to go, or wherever it is that I believe that he's going to have the best, best ability to develop in his, at his position. I can't argue with Deion there. Now we flip it and look at the NFL, on the way the NFL looks at it, and the NFL is going to poo-poo on that whole idea because it's an honor and a privilege that you're getting drafted at that particular position. And I hear that and I respect that, but I don't know how much of an honor and a privilege it really is to these kids anymore who are coming out of college with filled pockets, with bank accounts already taken care of. Quite a bit of a different story now with NIL money.
Now I can imagine they can respect the honor and the privilege part of what you're talking about and still want to maintain certain kind of leverage. I'm pro player, always will be, and I'm all for guys having as much leverage as seemingly possible. And so, you can respect the honor and the privilege to play anywhere, but at the same time, acknowledge the fact that, it's a possibility you could be put in a situation that's a no-win situation for you. And if you have leverage to avoid that situation, why in the hell wouldn't you use it? And so both things could be acknowledged at the same time.
There's an 800-pound gorilla in the room that no one's talking about, and we're going to go down that path because it was okay when Eli did it, okay? But it's not okay when Caleb does it. And it's not okay when Deion Sanders does it. Okay, all right. It's okay when a white guy does it, but it's not okay when the black kids do it. All right, that's an issue because if you have a problem with what Caleb is doing, if you have a problem with what Deion is saying that his sons are going to do, then but there wasn't that big of an outrage. Of course, there was some, but there wasn't. There was, but believe me, if that was anybody else, if that was anyone else had that been like a Steve McNair, had that been any other black quarterback doing something like that, it'd have been crazy. I mean, you see how crazy people get when they change the Little Mermaid from a white mermaid to a black mermaid. That's a cartoon. That's a cartoon, and people were outraged over this.
Hey, man, everybody knows mermaids are white. Like,
so you're saying black folks can't swim? Is that what it is? That
from a guy whose family comes from an island? Yes, that is what I'm saying.
So it was okay for that, but now that and here's the thing is that the fact is that they're talking about it like this is what we're gonna do, and people don't like that. All right, they just want people to say do what's always been done, take your millions and don't be happy with that is what they're saying. Take your millions and go tackle, or take your millions and go score touchdowns is what they're saying. And some people are, they're like, no, I don't want to do this because they figure they look at it as you're stepping into the job force and you can really apply in any other field to any company you want. So there's just.
So this is what I was saying. The NIL money factors in a major way, right? Yeah. Like that was the previous view of all this when they really were, you got student loans, you know what I mean? Like, or maybe you don't, maybe you're on scholarship, whatever, but you're moving from a non-revenue generating case scenario being school into the workforce in this scenario being the NFL. And it's an honor and a privilege to do that. I get it. But if you're coming out of college with $11 million like Caleb Williams, I'll just go back to college, make $11 million next year. If that's something I can do, if that avoids me from being drafted by the Carolina Panthers or like, whoever it might be, right? Like it's that money, that NIL money is going to change things as we move forward.
You know what, kids? It's funny you said that because what I was looking for over the weekend, there was a photo of Shador with two hats in front of him with his hand on both hats. And I was trying to remember. I remember one team, which was the New York Giants. The other team that he had his hand on in terms of a hat, and I think they were referring to two teams that they did not want to be going to, are the Giants and the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, interesting.
And there was a photo. I'm going to continue to look for that photo, and if I find it, I'm going to screenshot it and I'm going to post it. But those were definitely two teams that the two hats that I saw with him sitting at a table in his uniform, in his Colorado uniform, but those two particular hats for those two teams. For me, I'm with you, Shawn, with regard to what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. It's just that simple. Let's not pretend that there isn't a double standard when it comes to life in general, sports, and everything else. The double standard that's out here. You know, do I feel that they should have some leverage in regards to where they want to go? Yeah, especially when you're talking about millions of dollars. And these kids, and again, the NIL part is definitely playing a piece in it because, you know, if you got the eligibility and you can stay an extra year to ensure that you land where you want to land, then why not? I wish NIL was around when my kid was playing. Heck, for that matter, when we was coming out of school.
Yeah, that when I was coming out.
Yeah. You see me backtrack it. You see me backtrack it. So
because there wasn't no NIL. Hell.
I just look at it like this, man. Look, things can be leveraged in a way for the good or for the bad. It just depends on who does it affect or who's pushing who has the leverage, or in some cases, you'll hear the word narrative, who's pushing the narrative. In these two young men cases, there's a possibility they could go 1 and 2 in the draft, flip flop either way.
So, I think we're talking about something a little bit bigger than we really even recognize or understand, because that
trying to go, kids. Go ahead, jump on, kids.
I'm not sure where you were going, but I just caught Nathan Campbell's message here. What up, Nathan? Thanks for representing with us, brother. But do a lottery then. And I have a strange feeling that might be where that might be the road we're headed down.
I think, and this came up during the season, toward the end of this past season, where I heard them talking about, I forget what game was on and what sportscasting team was on at the time, but that seems like it's a possibility that the NFL is getting ready to go that way with regard to the worst schedules, because they were saying about how the Bears will end up with the first pick 2 years in a row, but they didn't have the worst record this time around. But because the team and who they did the trade with, ended up essentially having the worst record. So it's a possibility. And I don't think it would be a bad thing for the NFL to have a lottery system in some cases, That's
no,
just me.
I think I still like this because it gives because here's what's going to happen. You're going to have some team. There's going to be some teams that are loaded, and then everyone's going to be trying to go to a certain select number of teams. Well, guess what? You still only have 53 spots, and you're going to have 5 running backs trying to go here. Well, they can't go there. All right, there's only 3 running backs taken, maybe 4 if one dude, but that dude's a special teams guy. So you're going to ask a dude who thinks he's a number one running back, you think he's going to want to play special teams? No, there's not. He's not going to want to play special teams. Not when he was a starter in high school, a stud in college, and now he should be a stud or should get most of the carries in the NFL, or at least rotate. He's the 4th running back. You got it. There's a team has to have role players. You can't all have stars. You got to have role players. And you're going to get so many teams who are going to be loaded up, and there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems with people who aren't happy with their situation, who aren't happy, and don't forget there's still a salary cap. All right, so let me tell you. So you think you're a first round pick, and you want to go, and if you're a first round pick, you're guaranteed X amount of dollars per slot, but now you're going to go here. Well, now they can negotiate. So instead of whatever your first round slot would be, you might end up getting 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round money because they have other people slot with more money than you. So I don't know of a better way off the top of my head. And some people just gonna have to deal with it. And you know what? I don't know. I don't know. It's I mean, I'm all for the players, but I'm also this guy. Let's remember, it still is a business.
Gotcha.
Right? It still is a business,
Right.
and these guys are providing a very unbelievably comfortable lifestyle when it's all said and done. So like you don't go to jobs making $47 million, at signing bonus. That's not how it works. This
Coming
is a
out of
special
college,
thing.
yeah, you're right.
This is a very special thing. So, I mean, I see both sides of it. I see the player side of it, get the most money, but I'm also, as a business owner, I'm also like, hey, hold on, player. I want to maximize the amount of dollars that I get, not necessarily, shorting the employees, but I don't want to give them more than, I have to.
Well, with that being said, Shawn, and I know we got to go. I know we got to flip to another subject real quick, but really quick on with regard to that, Shawn. You said looking at it from a business standpoint, what I would really like to see happen to the NFL is when the players and the teams or the owners start sharing in the revenue. I think that would make matters. I think that would help the NFL also, because right now the NFL, the teams don't share in any of the revenue with the players.
Well, they do.
Especially
They do.
TV revenue. Not like the NBA. And I think
they do. It's just not like the NBA. They do. They get a cut, and that's where that's the salary cap. You get X amount of dollars. Their salary cap is based off the revenue that's collectively bargained. That's why the salary cap goes up. That's where they're getting all the money from. Well, but the NBA is a different animal. The NBA is run by the players.
Well, we could keep going on and on with this one because I got a lot of different things that I could be saying right now, but got to cut my own self short because we got to get to a station ID, and then we get back on the other side of it. We're going to tackle this Ryan Poles interview at the owners meeting and break down, whether or not he's, what he said there and whether or not he set this young rookie up, whoever he might be, for success. But go ahead, Chris.
The best Chicago Bears content anywhere. Catch Nomad Live pregame 1 hour prior to kickoff and Nomad at Night postgame, and every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Central on all the most popular streaming platforms, and only on the Nomad Network.
That's right, everybody. Keep up the support, man. Keep hitting it. If you have not, man, please step to the side right quick and hit that like button. I don't know how many likes we have. It's never as many as we have in the chat live. So please get the likes up and make sure if you're new to the channel, whether it's our channel or whether it's Sports Zone Chicago with my guy Shawn down there, make sure you do due diligence and give us the sub. We will greatly, greatly appreciate every bit of your support. And thank you ahead of time. But fellas, we got to get into the nuts and bolts of why we came here. And so, it's two parts to it. Part of it is what you saw on the thumbnail. Has Ryan Poles set up whoever this rookie is that they're drafting? Has he set him up properly for success? That's one. Number two is, and I think we'll tackle this one first. He had a interview he did that I mistakenly said it was given by Fox News, but Fox News was the one outlet that I saw and I seen it on. So he gave a presser at the owners meeting, and he was pressed about, the whole situation with Justin Fields and, where he's at with in his decision making. Has he made a decision at quarterback and who he's going to draft? And it was interesting, man. I don't know if everybody got a chance to see it, but it sounds as though Justin became a victim of circumstances. And that is simply, in his response to it was, I don't know the exact quote that was given to him, but he was responding to a question of, how did you come to that decision with moving on from Justin Fields? And he said something like, it wasn't Justin versus the other quarterbacks in the draft. It was the timeline. Basically, he more or less said that, it came down to dollars and cents, and he felt like it'd be better for the organization to just start all over at quarterback than to look ahead and have to pay Justin Fields a big amount of money, and then have to keep pieces around him, which becomes difficult. So, kids, I don't know what you took from that. That's what I got from that question he was asked. Did you hear it the same way?
I suppose I heard it the same way, but at the same time, I took just about every word that came out of that gentleman's mouth with a grain of salt. It's line season. That's kind of where I am with it. He did give his feelings on a lot of things, Jaylon Johnson and how that got squared away, Justin Fields, and again, how that affected not only Justin, but the team, and even right down to his son. He said it was a hard case scenario across the board, and I don't know what to take from that at this present time, and it has a lot more to do with other aspects of this whole scenario. Being, if this was the end result, and here we are, why not just do it 4 weeks prior, 8 weeks prior? Dodge all the feelings. You could have been took that jersey out of your son's room 8 weeks ago. Like, I don't know what to say, man. That's really where I am with it. I'm not upset or happy with the Justin situation. It is what it is. I'm well over it, but I look at Ryan and I'm like, man, I guess you do have to sort of come up with some level of reasoning behind it in front of the press. But his reasoning was pretty vanilla for me, from where I sit. I don't know about the rest of you guys.
Well, I'm going to jump in on this. What I took from it is exactly what Cam Newton said in an interview when he said, essentially, today's NFL, if you're a quarterback, you have to come in. You're coming in as the CEO of the team, and essentially you had 2 to 3 years. And it came down to timing for Justin. And at the same time, you have a GM who come from the scouting side of things. So goes back to something that Kedz had pointed out a few weeks back about ryanpoles had been tracking certain players that's at the quarterback position prior to him taking the job. So once he took the job, he kept his eye on those particular players, Caleb being one of them. And he was, in some case, in one aspect, he was honest when he said, well, the first year the guy came in as a rookie, a whole different regime. Then I took over. I tore everything down. What he didn't say that I was hoping he would say is, I just didn't give the guy enough on the offensive side of the ball for him to really do what Jalen did, which was bet on himself. And with that, I take it in tongue in cheek. Because what it really came down to was, unless Justin had taken him to the playoffs, that was the only way he was going to keep his job here in Chicago. Other than that, he was out the door, man. It's just that simple. He already had targeted, I would say 1 to 3 guys, and I'm going to narrow down to 1 to 2 guys that's going to end up taking over at quarterback for the Chicago Bears this coming season, 2024. And it's a business. As much as it hurt his son more than him, it's a business. I will give him a little bit of credit with regard to making sure that Justin landed somewhere where he could compete and have an opportunity to be the face of a franchise. So with that, I applaud him on that. I felt he was genuine in regards to that, as well as just really, without saying it, but reading between the lines, hey, this guy wants to set this team up with his quarterback and have his legacy pinned to that individual, whether it be Caleb or whether it be someone else. And it is what it is. It's business, and I get it. Do I agree with it wholeheartedly? Yes and no. But if I have to really look at it from a business standpoint, which is what I'm going to do today, I get it. It's unfortunate, but I get it. And that's why they pay him the big bucks. He's the GM. He's got to make that tough decision. And I'm pretty sure there was some very difficult conversations had at Hallis Hall before he made that decision. But in the end, it was something that he felt convicted to do. I just hope that it works out for him. But more importantly, I just hope that they have the infrastructure in place for the new quarterback that's going to take over so that young man can have success and not end up repeating what we had this past 3 years.
Shawn, I just want to ask you before you respond to this, have you gotten to the point where I am now where I can respect him and his decision-making, talking about ryanpoles and his virtues and the way he saw the situation, his process, the way he processes is 5 years down the line. I've gotten to a place within me that I respect. I'm learning to respect it, and I'm tempering my response to it based on what I see on the field. And looking when I'm able to look back at this in hindsight, I think we'll all be able to better judge, what this decision, whether this was the right or wrong decision on the other side of it after the season. But have you gotten to that space yet?
No, just because of the fact that
Sorry.
is that with a breakdown of the finances, he
didn't have to.
With the breakdown of the finances, he's talking about paying Justin, his extension. Okay, well, if you do that, that means you would have traded the pick and got quite a few draft picks for it. All right, you could have traded 1 to 2 and then 2 to whatever. All right, so now and all these guys are slotted, so the amount of money they make is told, so you know exactly what they're making, so you know exactly what to pay Justin. So when you tell me it's 5 years down the line, no, I don't buy that. Just because of the way that the draft goes, all first rounders, are slotted, so you know exactly where you're going to be, and you can budget. Okay, I don't like the decision. All right, but I respect it. He's a dude, and we got to move on. All right, just because you don't like a decision doesn't mean hell. How many times we do not like the decisions our parents made for us? All right, but we still respected them. Okay, we still trusted them. Okay, just because it's not what we wanted, we can't just turn on him and say he's a piece of crap because he didn't do what I wanted. That's not being a true fan. All right, he has a lot more information than we do. All right, and let's not forget, he's CYA and is his tail. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about CYA covering his own tail. All right, he out that he's got 2 years. Eberflus might not. He's got at least 2 to 3 more years now extended on the life of his deal, because if they regress, you can say, well, because of the offense, well, we had a rookie quarterback, he's going to go through struggles, blah, 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 blah. Okay. If they do well, and he's insulated it because he's got a guy who can develop quarterbacks. He's upgraded the wide receiver. He's added another stud wide receiver. He's added another competent tight. He's upgraded the running back room. He's added depth on the offensive line. All right. Well, he's made it almost impossible for him to fail. Okay. And even if he does, he can still say, well, he's a rookie. He's going to struggle. Wait till next year. And then he buys himself an extra time. So I haven't gotten to that point. I get it. When he talked about the timeline, what he was saying and how it sounds good, but there's something just not right about it. And I could be wrong, but I'm trusting my gut. And I just feel that there's something, you talked about lion season. Okay. It is, it really, really is. And the more and more like I'm watching him, the more I'm just starting to see he's like a true GM. Like he will lie. He will lie to you. He will lie to us. He will lie to, other things. And I didn't think that of him initially, but I feel that, and I guess to be a good GM, you're going to have to. Okay. You're going to have to. So, but again, yeah, I didn't like the decision, but it doesn't mean I don't trust him moving forward. But trust me, if it blows up in his face, I'll be the first to say, I told you so. I'll be the first to say there was something wrong that I didn't not buying it completely. So, but I hope he proves me wrong. I hope this new quarterback leads us to a Lombardi trophy, and we can all, put it in a rear view mirror.
I looked at it all as tongue in cheek, quite frankly. That's the way I'm starting to receive pretty much everything that he's saying right now, because one of the next things that was asked of him was, has he made a decision at quarterback and who he's going to draft? And he was I'm a feed right into what Keith is probably laughing about, but he was non-committal, quite frankly. But before that they were asking him questions about Caleb Williams, and he seemed absolutely enamored with the kid. And another thing, while we're at this conversation, and you guys can touch on each and every one of these, he was also asked whether he was going to LSU. They're going to send a full contingency to LSU to evaluate not Caleb Williams, but Jaden Daniels. And then also they chose to only send a quarterback coach down to see Drake May.
North Carolina, yep.
Yeah, I was like, hey, man, you know what? That's telling the man without telling the man we ain't interested in you at all, but we will send somebody down there to, ask a couple of questions, but we ain't drafting you. I'm just going to let you know that right now. We ain't going to waste our time and energy down there with you. We're drafting either one of these two guys. and it sounded like he was so enamored with Caleb Williams. I believe more firmly now than I did before that this is the guy they had in mind all along. Go ahead, kids.
Keith, you're chomping at the bit, brother. You go ahead, man.
He can't contain himself.
Well, I think he's enamored with him, but I also, and this goes back to the tongue-in-cheek part. He seemed quite enamored with the guy that he just sent to the Steelers. So I say that to say this. I think it's going to really come down to the interviews when they get a chance to get them into Hallis Hall, get around them, and really see for themselves who that person is, spend some real quality time with them. That is going to make his decision. I don't think he's 100% on either one of the guys right now. He might be leaning more 70-30 on one guy and 60-40 on the other one. But I really think it's going to come down to when those guys make that trip to Hallis Hall and they get a chance to really sit down and chop it up. GM and player and coach and player, and probably even have a couple of the leaders of the team meet with the guys as well, because the locker room is going to be very important. And they're going to have to be able to gauge who from their leaders who they think those guys may lean toward one way or the other. But essentially, it's not going to be the end all to be all in terms of making a decision. But I don't think he's 100% on either one of the guys right now, and I think they're still going through evaluations. It's going to really come down to who do Shanewaldron want to work with, who do he feel most confident that he can really mold and develop. So again, go into the identity that the Bears want to have offensively. Which guy can do that? Which guy can come into our locker room, lead these locker room of men and a young man, and that's what it's really going to come down to. I'm smiling and I'm cheesing on it because I think that this is the first time that Poles is going to have to make a decision where it's really going to be solely on him.
I don't know where
I don't. Something isn't right about this whole situation. He still hasn't given the medicals. Okay, if he was all about it, it would have been a done deal. Okay, it should have been a done deal. Okay, it's here. I'm happy. Why did he feel the need to push back the visit? All right, he's still trying to control where he wants to go, in my opinion, due to his medicals. All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens. To me, and why does Caleb at his pro day, when they asked, they cleared the path for you by trading Justin Fields, is it pretty much things like, well, things can change. All right. He didn't say, he's not meeting for medicals. He's meeting for a private visit. All right. He's part of that. All right. But the thing is, why would you not do that? Again, why would you not just fly up I-65 here in Indianapolis? You're a 20-minute, 30-minute private jet, because I'm sure that's what you're traveling in, because you're $10 million, $11 million richer. You can come in for a day or two. Okay. And don't tell me you're prepping for your pro day, because you're at the damn PGA tour. Okay. You're at the PGA tour. So you're full of shit. Pardon my French. Okay. So don't tell us that. And then you and Rory McIlroy are walking on the 15th green. Okay. So there's a reason for that. There's something that I'm not seeing. There's something I'm not seeing. And I'm still going back to the Colin Cowherd thing. Okay. I'm still going back to the Peter King thing, where people had to walk it back. Both guys had to walk it back. It should be clear cut, simple, cut and dry. All right, we got the number one pick. We're taking Caleb. Caleb, I want to go to Chicago. I can't wait. I'm excited. No. So.
All right. You know what, man? We got one more thing to cover, man. I think everybody pretty well expressed themselves about that situation. I think also, let's just go around the horn real quick about, based on what we know as of right now, I'll save my thoughts until last. Do you think this young man, whoever the quarterback is, we don't have to get into whether it's Caleb or Jaden Daniels, but do you
It's not
think
a tampering charge. You have the first pick in the draft. You're not tampering, knuckleheads. I mean, you're not. You're not the third pick saying we're going to draft such and such. You have the first pick. Like, people come up with crazy stuff.
man?
It's funny. It's just funny when people have they're trying to perpetuate their narrative. Well, go ahead.
It's what we're talking about here is just about whether or not we think that the situation is set up well enough. Did ryanpoles do enough in free agency to set this guy up? Does he have enough draft picks in the draft to set this guy up? And do you guys feel comfortable feeling like that this guy set up the right way? I'm going to say my points until last and just let you guys go, starting with Kid.
It depends what the desired result is. So I feel that at this present time, the desired result is playoff and or NFC championship down the road. I'm not so sure this is a Super Bowl caliber team, right? That's Ryan. If the desired result is a Super Bowl, I think we have to have, you're going to need to ask me this exact same question after the 2025 draft, right? Like that's basically where my headspace is. If you were solely aimed at Super Bowl or bust, I think many different things would have happened here. But I think what he's done is he's set this, whoever is going to be under center up for relative success, potentially a playoff berth, at the very minimum 9 to 10 wins this season. And I said it last night, I'm kind of optimistic with what this season will look like for the Bears. And unfortunately, my optimism has a ceiling. I don't think we're going to the Super Bowl this year. That's just me. Feel free to tell me differently and why, and we'll have a debate. But I don't think he's set up a Super Bowl caliber squad at this present time. I feel like that squad may be in position in 2026. What do you think?
Kedz, I have to agree with you. I think what we have to deem is what's the timeline. Is it this coming season, or are we projecting 2 to 3 seasons down the road? I think what he did this season, for this coming season, he added some key pieces to help whoever's going to be under center, help that new quarterback in development and help them progress. But more importantly, I think if anything, they're going to lean heavily on two things. They're going to lean very heavily on the defense and on the running game. With that, can that get them into the playoffs? Possibly. But with that being said, that it's a tough division. Absolutely. So you really have to determine what's the timeline. We as fans, the timeline is now for us because we felt like we're that close. We won 7 games. We easily could have won 10 games, left a couple games on, left some things on the field this past season. And ryanpoles, what he's seeing is the timeline that he set for his quarterback. So he may have one timeline going in his head while us as fans have a different timeline. Again, I think he added some key pieces. He added some depth pieces, and he mentioned that during his presser as well, especially along the offensive line, to help protect that and help with the development of the quarterback. Did he add enough pieces? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. For us, I think without him saying it, he's trying to tell the fans to temper their expectations once again. So if they come in a little short, then it won't seem like, okay, well, we failed, and like you said earlier, Nomad, I think he bought himself some time in terms of the chair that he sits in. So there's 2 factors there. But we as fans, it's up to us to determine whether we want it to be now or are we okay with it being 2 to 3 years from now. Me as a fan, I want it now because I think that had he not made a hasty decision, we could potentially be there this season. But since he made that decision and it was a business decision, your new CEO has to come in and do what the previous CEO didn't do, which is get you to the playoffs. And that's what I expect. That's just me. What about you, Shawn?
Well, that's the standard. All right. People want to say, well, Justin had some fourth quarter losses and things like that. And I will say this: if you expect, and this is again for people who don't watch football, you have a was it the Cleveland 4th and 1 when you're asking Darnell Mooney? No, it was later in the season. Darnell Mooney to block an outside linebacker so Justin Fields can get outside, and he gets tripped up on 4th and 1. Otherwise, Justin Fields gets that and plenty more, maybe even a house call. But Darnell Mooney didn't make that block. That's not on Fields. That's on Mooney. All right. So we're a team that we're looking at a situation where we were close to the playoffs last year. Just the quarterback was trending upward, especially after his injury. And then you can't say, well, now we need to temper expectations. Well, we've added, the defense. We've replaced one All-Pro with another, Eddie Jackson. Depending on who we get opposite Montez Sweat. We've re-signed Jalen. Okay, we've added depth. We've added a stud wide receiver. We've added another tight end. We've added depth to the offensive line. And for someone who said we got backup, we didn't get a backup center. We got a center who started for the Rams all 17 games. So please make sure you understand what you're talking about before you speak or type. All right, because this guy started last year for the Rams. Now you may, if you want to bring in a question that's a 1-year deal, okay, then that is valid. But who's to say that he doesn't get extended like Andrew Billings got extended before the season was over last year? So we did find a center, even if it's just for this year. We found a center. Okay, and don't talk to me about, well, not long term. We're not looking at long term. We're looking at this year. So we found a center for this year. We have 2 guards. We have 2 tackles. Okay, so to come into this situation, the floor is the playoffs. The floor, we must make the playoffs. So don't sit there and say, well, we won 7. If we win 5, it's okay because we have rookie struggles. Well, no. Don't tell me this with a generational quarterback who's stepping into the best situation a quarterback, a number 1 overall quarterback, has ever stepped into in the history of the NFL. You don't tell me that we need to give him some time with all the weapons. Most quarterbacks who've been in the league 5 or 6 years don't have these weapons on offense, don't have the defense that we have. But then you're saying temper expectations? No. If this is the label that you want for this guy, okay, then be generational, and then we need to take a hard look if they don't make the playoffs, because it's literally playoffs for me. And I agree. I thought this year, had we kept Justin, I thought the ceiling for us would be the NFC Championship game. I didn't think we were a Super Bowl ready.
No,
right?
We wouldn't have been.
And I think we may have lost in the divisional round the week before. Okay, but now this one we got to make the playoffs, and I think the ceiling for us, depending on how well Caleb adjusts or whoever the quarterback is adjusts to it, I think the ceiling is the divisional round.
So let me just follow up right where you are before Nomad goes here, and I'll start with this here. King Book of World Super Chat. Thanks, my brother. Thank you, sir. Sounded to me that Fields died so the Bears could live. Yeah, and that's kind of where we are right now.
That's a hell of a way to put it.
You know what I mean? It's kind of where we are right now. Ryan Poles lives on. Live long, Ryan Poles, as well as the rest of this upgraded roster. There was one comment by Pepe in the chat here. Honestly, the point he was trying to make is that like expectations are now all of a sudden they're all of a sudden different now that somebody else is going to be under center. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm actually trying to keep expectations exactly the same. Thanks, Brian. I'm trying to keep expectations identical, right? So if we were potentially a playoff team last year, if the narrative is that Justin Fields played terribly last year, some will say yay, some will say nay, but let's just say he played terribly last year. The expectation would be that, again, we could have won, 3 more games if A, it wasn't for Justin, B, it wasn't for poor coaching. That puts us into the playoff conversation right there. And if we're having a playoff conversation with a guy that everybody out there, not everybody, that folks out there are claiming was not a very good quarterback, and we're drafting a very good generational talent quarterback. I don't take generational talent out of it, but a very good quarterback by all intents and purposes. He should not only be given basically the same expectations. The expectations should not be lower. They should actually be higher. I'm not going to put higher expectations on the kid because I want to give him the opportunity to grow into his role. But I think you're looking at 10 games, which is what I think we should have won last year, and or playoffs or better. That's what I'm hoping for this season. I know that's what Matt Eberflus is hoping for this season because, again, my guy's got the worst coaching record likely in the NFL at present, if not definitely by way of the Chicago Bears and their coaches. And that's saying a lot. He's got a long way to go to save his behind. And let's just all hope that ryanpoles has built not just the defense, but the offense in a manner to save the head coach so that there can be a little bit of stability within the Chicago Bears organization.
So since we are up against as far as time goes, we are 12 minutes over what we plan to do. I will keep my response to this really short. Do I think that they've set this young cat up for success? I think I have two areas of concern. I'm getting a little frustrated with the amount of spending on the offensive line. And I said this last night on last night's show. I would be saying the same thing if it's Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, or whoever the quarterback is. They haven't spent enough money on the offensive line. They have not made the right moves at the offensive line, and that's concerning for any rookie that's coming in here. I hope that they knew what they were doing, getting bargain basement free agents in here to bolster up that offensive line, because they brought in a bunch of backups is what they did, and I don't like that for a rookie quarterback. He's gonna if ryanpoles is right, then Caleb Williams could soar, but if he's wrong, Caleb Williams is gonna struggle. Now I mean struggle, and so that part I'm not good with. Also, it's the age of the receiver we just got from from LA. Keenan Allen is 31, you're going to be 32 really soon. And, that's a good setup for a rookie, especially he's really, really he'd be really quarterback friendly for a rookie. And, because he finds ways to get open and he's constantly open. So that's good for a rookie quarterback. It's about, where you sit at 9 and are you in this position to grab another receiver? Because before you know it, Keenan Allen's going to age out. And, I don't know. I just hope djmoore time, allows his wounds to heal about what happened with Justin Fields, because he was apparent. He was saying absolutes when he was talking. The locker room wanted Justin Fields, and you could just tell in his demeanor and in his voice that he really didn't like the decision, but he's a pro and he's going to go out there and play football. And I appreciate that about him, but you can tell he felt a certain way about it. But that's my take on the whole thing. I do think he's sitting in a much more comfortable situation for a rookie at the number 1 pick than I can remember or ever recall a rookie first round quarterback, the first pick of the draft. I don't remember a situation being quite set up the way this is, but there's still, to me, flaws in the situation. And I just said what I think those are. But before we get out of here, man, let's go around and be pretty as brief as possible so we can get out of here, give out some pleasantries.
Right on. Just wanted, No Maniacs, thanks a million for joining us. Zoniacs, thanks a million for joining us. Great chopping it up with the Bishop, with the SuperBack and Nomad as per normal. Quick shout outs to the folks out there. Kerry Franklin, I see you. Creighton Wilfong, I see you. Broski Bear, Notorious TBG, Katrina Pullen, Scottish Bear from across the pond, Bearlissimo, as per normal. Thanks for hanging out with us, guy. Mr. Mayhem. I'll leave it there, man. Thanks a lot for chopping it up. And Bishop, it's on to you, bro.
Hey, to our Maniacs and sports zoners, once again, thank you for chiming in today, being spirited in the chat as always. To my diehards who don't always get a chance to jump in the chat, my boy V-Dub out in the D, my man. To my man Bill, or better known as Stuart, and Sophie out there in Florida, along with my two on the west side, Felicia and Rita. Appreciate y'all's support, and my man Milt. I can't forget you as well. But other than that, as always, my man's on the panel. I appreciate chopping it up with you guys. We didn't have enough time today to really dive into what we wanted to, but I think we touched on some things, and hopefully further down the road we'll get a chance to circle the wagon on that again. But it was a pleasure joining you guys today on this Monday. I enjoy you guys each and every day, and it's just a blessing. Shawn, the SuperBack, take it away, my brother.
Hey, sports owners and Nomadiacs unite. All right, listen. Thanks for coming in. All right, checking us out later in the afternoon today. We appreciate it. Good stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to dive deep into it. We'll come back around. All right, we'll come back around. All right, and so I'm just telling you, something just doesn't feel right to me. All right, something just does not feel right. It should be clear cut. If it's, and I understand it's lying season, but at this point, when there's no one ahead of you and you can make that call, make that call. It's just something that just doesn't sit well with me, and we'll see. We will see what we will see. And I could be wrong. I was wrong once before in my life. So, it's possible.
That one time, eh?
Yeah. At one time was the Justin Fields thing. But, it just doesn't seem right. So we'll see. We'll see. We will see. So, hey, listen, everyone have a great day. It's a little warmer. It's about 60 plus here in the Chicagoland area. Enjoy it. It's supposed to be a little rainy. That's fine. It's cool. Just we'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show. We're looking forward to tomorrow at 1 o'clock Central. So, man, I'll be ready to roll again mañana.
So, hey guys, I want to thank everybody that's here and in the chat live. Man, you kept it lively as you possibly could, and everybody watching and listening to the show, however you're streaming it. Thank you guys for being here, man. When I say this enough times, and one of these days you'll realize I mean it. I absolutely love you guys, man. Whether you come in here agreeing with us or not, whatever the subject matter is, you can complain about it, you can be happy about it. I'm gonna love you all the same anyway. That's the whole thing, man. It's about coming in here and having some respect for one another and everybody's opinions. And I love that about everybody, man. And so you bleed the blue and orange like I do. I got nothing but love for you guys. Keep bringing the support for the Nomad Network and also at Sports Zone Chicago, man. We appreciate every single bit of it. We need those likes. We need those subscriptions. So please help us get this thing up and going and out here in the atmosphere where it belongs. But before we get out of here, I got to leave you guys with these famous words. As always, love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Peace, y'all.
We out.
Yay.
Boom.